Hey guys, Jeff at Hubie's Garage, and we're going to get into a project that's basically a car that's been in the queue for about 20 years. It's pretty amazing to think that it's been that long because it feels like it was just only yesterday. But yeah, we're going to work on the 55 Bel Air two-door sedan. And we're going to do this in two segments. We're going to get the car back and ready to drive again, and then we're also going to do a segment just specifically involving the carburetor. So let's get to it. If you've ever worked with carb cleaner before, you know how bad and how nasty the stuff is. So the upcoming segment, if you've worked with this stuff before, it'll all make sense to you. So this is the L79 327 that originally came out of Howie's hardtop. This engine was borrowed from my dad's car. He went to work one day, and you know, he hadn't run the engine, he hadn't worked on the car in like 8 years. So I decided, okay, I'll borrow the carbon intake. And then it was like, well, if I take the carbon intake, I'll need to get these camel hump heads. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to use that, I better have a cam, so let's just take the whole engine. So I took my 59 283 stock 2-barrel engine out and swapped it out for this L79 350 horse 327. When we got the engine, we bought a 600 Holley double pumper, which is a 4776, that's the part number. But the car, when I had it at the drags, I borrowed a 650 double pumper from a buddy, and that was a 4777. And the car ran its best time ever at Super Chevy Sunday with that setup. So I went ahead and bought another carburetor. I bought a 650 double pumper. We're going to go ahead and throw this 600 double pumper off to the side. And this is what I bought. Okay, this is the Holley 650 double pumper. Again, it's a list number 4777. It's a manual choke. I think I bought this on OfferUp. I think I paid 150 bucks for it, which is a really great deal. But it has been used. It does have original hardware, original screws, some of the original gaskets. It's actually in really good shape. There wasn't any signs of a fire or any major leaks or any like rounded threads or screw slots that have been moved around, stuff like that that have been stripped out. So that's a pretty good sign that this is an unmolested carburetor. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this apart, and we will we've got a Holley trick kit for it, which is a universal carb repair kit for the double pumper, and it'll go in this. But first we have to take it apart and soak the parts in the Chem dip. Okay, so Berryman's Chem dip. Some of the stuff that I used to use, the old school stuff, was actually the McKay parts dip. McKay used to come in a blue and white can, typically 1 gallon size. But you know, I was doing so many carburetors back in the day, motorcycles, you know, cars, Volkswagens, you know, lawnmower stuff, that I went ahead and got a 5-gallon can of Berryman Chem dip. This stuff was really much stronger back in the day, but over the years, you know, this can survived 2 or 3 moves, and you know, we've got issues where it's got a dent in the side of the can, and worse than that, it's starting to breach the container. It's starting to get really rusty inside there. So what I did is I contacted Berryman, gave them the part number, and they actually, believe it or not, mailed me the same exact part number, the new 5-gallon can. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer the Chem dip into the new can. Now, most of the chemical, the actual stuff that does the work, is down low. They have a solvent that's up top, an oil-based solvent that works like a lid, like you would cover up a pot and keep everything inside. So basically the cleaner stuff on the bottom, the chemical that cleans, so that won't evaporate and dry out. That agent on the top works as kind of a lid to keep the other, the main chemical from evaporating. So if you ever run low on this, or it starts to evaporate or gets older or whatever, you can buy a 1 gallon replacement can, which is a little bit more condensed. It's a little bit, it's got more chemical and less solvent in that 1 gallon can, and you could use that 1 gallon can as a refill to top this off. Labels, everything, MSD, S's, that kind of stuff, it's all the same. We also, once we get the chemical into the new can, we will go ahead and load the Holley parts into the basket, and we'll give the parts a good soak. So let's get at it. All right, guys, so we're gonna have to take the old can. As you saw, it's all rusted out. We're gonna go ahead and transfer the contents into the new can. And I brought our birds out. I brought out Pedro Parakeet and Harry Canary, so they're gonna supervise. So let's get to work. All right, let's see. Boy, this stuff's pretty nasty. Let's open the lid here. Hey, are you guys okay?
Pretty bird. Pretty bird. Pretty bird.
Pedro, don't go to the light.
Pretty bird.
You know what, guys? I think I'm gonna have to call in for some backup. Stand by.
A few moments later.
All right, it's been, I can't remember if it's been 2 days or 3 days, but the parts are done. Let's just hope that they're not overcooked. So let's take everything out and show you what we're going to do the next step. Okay, so just to keep a little bit of weight on the lid and to keep from having any evaporation, I have an old school brass fire nozzle that's been sitting on the lid. And the old house, I had a hot water hose bib as well as a hot water stainless steel utility sink, which would have been perfect for washing the parts and basically decontaminating the carburetor parts. But unfortunately, we just have a garden hose and a cold water garden hose. So I've got a bucket of hot water, and put my gloves on, and we'll go ahead and pull the parts out of the basket and we'll rinse them off in the bucket of hot water. Okay, I got some old crappy clothes. I got the bucket of Chem dip. I got the bucket of hot water, and I got an old or a piddle pad. So go ahead and take the lid off. Obviously you want old clothes for this. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm double gloved because this stuff is really bad. So let's see what we got here. Lid is this stuff, you could just get it all over the place, and you may not necessarily get it on you, but it will permeate your clothes. It just soaks it in. Alright, so kind of swish it around in the bucket of hot water. And of course, water and solvent don't mix, but at least we're decontaminating it. And it looks like I did okay with it, because you can't overcook these. You know, this is one of those things where you think that 1 or 2 days is good, 3 or 4 is better. Well, it's not always the case, because what could happen is you'll actually cook the material, the gold coating on the carburetor, you'll actually cook that right off. So the best thing to do, I wished I had a hot water hose like I used to have, or a faucet to just continually rinse this off, but I'm probably going to end up having to use some type of solvent to get it clean. So okay, so we got a little bit of solvent in here, and we're just kind of letting some of the little parts kind of soak. I've got an acid brush, and I've got an old toothbrush, and we'll just go ahead and just take the pieces out individually. I'm going to set the camera down, but we'll just start scrubbing some of this stuff off, get it clean, and then we'll just lay it out on a fresh piddle pad there. And back in the day, I used to use this. I used to actually use the parts dip, the Chem dip, without even using gloves, and just touching that stuff by hand. What we learn when we get older, obviously you learn to do things smarter. And with cancer and all that other stuff out there, the things that are out there to get you, you know, you try not to breathe this stuff, you try not to get it on your skin, all that kind of stuff. Here's an issue here. You get in a hurry and you forget to take the idle circuit screw out. So that was an oops, but I'm sure it'll be fine. You know, this carburetor wasn't bad, so, but you know, just brush all the gunk out of it, and then we'll take the air compressor and blow it off real good and get it all ready to go back together. All right, well, it's obviously gotten night pretty quick. You could see what, even just having your hands in this stuff with the nitrile gloves, you know, it's obviously gotten through. So time for another pair of gloves, but all the parts are cleaning up pretty nice. So pretty happy with everything so far. So get a little bit of compressed air and dry everything out real good, and finish up with the main body, and we should be looking pretty good. Okay, so now that some of the parts, or all the parts, have been cleaned and we've soaked all the additional small pieces, let's go ahead and clean or dry everything off and get everything ready for assembly.